What's up guys, welcome to Film and TV Reviews. Today I am reviewing Skyscraper, starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. In the promotion of this film, it was compared to Die Hard and The Towering Inferno, and in many ways this is a remake of both of those films combined and squashed into one. The problem is that Die Hard and The Towering Inferno are really good films. I recommend you watch both of them. Towering Inferno I think is kind of overlooked these days. It is quite old now, but go check it out. I don't know how well it holds up, but it was a really good film. The problem with trying to remake or adapt or take influence from two really good films is you've got to have a unique angle to it. This film doesn't have that. It's not as good as them films. It's not a bad film by any means. It is fun, it is enjoyable, but it doesn't have the deeper meaning, it doesn't have the greater purpose, and it is just a bunch of set pieces thrown together. The story of this film is pretty simple. A guy used to be a Marine, gets an injury, now he works at this skyscraper, he's testing out the living quarters and all the security measures there. Meanwhile, this terrorist group invades the building, wants to get something that the owner of the building has, and as you know it, this guy's family is stuck in the building. He has to then break in, rescue his family, and stop the terrorists. It's pretty cliche, pretty unoriginal. It's very predictable. It sets up certain moments really early on. For example, there's an introduction of this room with mirrors and screens, and you can see clearly that this is where the finale of the film is going to be. You can see clearly that it's going to mimic and copy events in The Man with the Golden Gun and another film called John Wick 2, which came out not too long before this. And it does exactly that. If you're going into this film wanting to be surprised, wanting to be thrilled, you're not going to get that. Not exactly though. Sticking with the story is pretty silly, pretty stupid, and just flat out dumb at times. For example, when the building's on fire, not once do you see any firefighters show up and try to put out the fire. Why? They don't explain it. Clearly a huge fire, but no firefighters in sight. The police are there, holding people back, but what the hell are they doing? The film just does not have any interest in showing you actual emergency services at work. Sticking with that, this film is very much a pseudo science fiction fantastical film. If you're wanting to be in a believable environment, this is not it. Some of the events, the sequences, the technology and the action is just bizarre and silly at times. It's a summer blockbuster ramped up a few levels. If you don't like that, if you go into a film wanting to be immersed into the world, if you want it to be believable, this film is not going to do that for you. Moving on to the characters, not much to say here. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson does his best here. He's by far the best thing in the film. But sadly, all the characters, including his, are stereotypical, one note. They're a little bland as well. There's no humour to any of these characters. They do try to add some humour, but it's like you can see it coming a mile off, and it just doesn't quite hit the mark. They're all cliche, stereotypical. The bad guys, for example, seem to be Eastern European with typical accents. One of them's also British, so have we not moved on from this? I don't know. But yeah, if you're wanting a film with depth, this isn't it at all. Story, characters, bare basic, just so you can get an understanding. This film very much wants you to be thrilled with all the action and the set pieces. And luckily, the action and set pieces are alright. Again, believability out the window, you've got to throw that away, because this is not a believable film at all. But thanks to the pacing, which is very quick, very nippy, constantly moving forward. The film is also short as a result of that. It's about an hour and a half. It does sometimes feel like a home video release with an amped up budget. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it makes you wonder why Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson did this, because he's been doing blockbusters on a much bigger scale than this in recent years. But the point I'm trying to make here is that the film, while it does have big problems, it is energetic, it is exciting at times, it's constantly moving forward, and I was never bored, I was never drifting off or losing interest. It seems like much of the budget of this film has went towards not only Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson being cast in it, but the special effects and the CGI. The special effects and CGI are pretty good, although there are some little iffy bits and bobs here and there that don't quite look quite that good. There's one set piece in the film that's clearly trying to take influence from Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol when Tom Cruise is running along the side of the building. The only problem is here is that they're clearly not actually doing it for real, while in Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, Tom Cruise literally ran along the side of a building. So why mimic that stunt? Why try and copy that stunt if you're not going to go all out? It just looks cheap and it looks poor in comparison. Another thing of note is that this film is set in Hong Kong. That's by no means a bad thing. In fact, the setting of this film is quite good. I quite like some of the locations that they use. The Chinese film market in recent years has become one of, if not the biggest film market. You can release a film in the United States, in Europe, across the world, and it could do absolutely terrible. But then all of a sudden it gets released in China and it does absolutely brilliantly, and therefore the film is a huge success. So in other words, if your film is a success in China, chances are overall it's going to be a success. Chances are, if it's a blockbuster movie, it's going to get a sequel. This film is one of the first that I've really noticed that it's overtly trying to target the Chinese film market. It's set in Hong Kong, it's set in China. There are Chinese actors and characters in this movie. They are all stereotypical, but it's clearly trying to target the Chinese audience. Again, that's not a bad thing, it's just really noticeable. The dialogue in the movie and the characters, again, one note stereotypical, but the dialogue in particular is just really bad and expositional. You've got characters walking around just explaining everything that's going on, just randomly popping up some sort of information about their past, which just feels so unnatural and lacks believability. So that's Skyscraper in a nutshell. It's not bad, it's not good. If you're going into this wanting to watch an exciting, thrilling action movie, you'll probably like it. It's by no means boring, it is energetic. Because of the pacing, because of the length of the film, it's constantly keep going forward. I think people will enjoy it despite the problems. I hope you've enjoyed this review. I'm Grant Burton. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at @the_Grant Burton. You can also check out my other shows. Film and TV Weekly is a weekly film and TV news show, which I do. Comes out every Monday, midday, GMT. In the meantime, if you've liked what you've seen, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to my channel, gave me a thumbs up, and left a comment and some feedback down below. Tell me what you thought of Skyscraper. But that's all I've got for this week, so thanks for watching.